In this lesson, I want to speak about so-called words of knowledge. Word of knowledge is a specific revelation. It can come spontaneous, like an impulse of God, and it can be provoked with the help of the gift of prophecy. Mostly we reserve this word for revelations about the condition of someone, a condition that we did not know. The most common use of the word of knowledge is in a meeting, a church meeting. So not so much a healing room session where we are just 2 or 3 with our visitor. We can use words of knowledge there. I mean, we do use it. Suddenly we can ask, did you ever do that? Am I right that you have a back pain? Well, we didn't know about that. So those are also words of knowledge. They are very often used in church meetings. So personally, what I do, mostly at the end of a meeting, is ask God, what do you want to do now on the area of healing? And then I receive all kinds of impressions. It also happens that I ask my whole team, when we have a meeting, I ask my whole team, like I give you 30 seconds, let's ask for words of knowledge so that I'm not the only one who receives this revelation, but my whole team, and we just combine those things. But I think I should explain a few things about this. In a typical word of knowledge setting, so at the end of a normal meeting, it's like you ask God what he is about to do. So what happens? You might have a mind picture. You see something that you can identify as a body part. You see a leg, you see a knee, you see a foot, you see a hand, you see a tumor. So you see certain things. And when God shows you those things, you're sure that he wants to heal them. It's also possible that you have a certain kind of knowledge. Suddenly you know there's someone with a particular disease at a particular place with a particular problem. And sometimes you might even have a physical sensation, like suddenly you feel a pain while you're not suffering in that body part, but you feel a pain, and it could be an indication that somewhere near to you is someone who exactly has that kind of pain. I'm instructing people to be open for this. As I said, it can happen spontaneous. You're just in a shopping mall or in a shop, and suddenly you have a mind impression that someone who is in the shop close to you has a certain disease, or suddenly you feel a pain, and you know that the person who's standing next to you probably has that pain. And so I can give you some examples to give you an idea how that works. One is maybe a bit funny. Some years ago, I was in Rome, Italy, capital of Italy, ministering among Romanian churches. So in Italy are a lot of Romanian laborers, and they have their own churches. So one day there was a political demonstration in which Romanian people demonstrated in front of the Norwegian embassy. The reason is now not so important, but it was a demonstration, and my Romanian friends asked me, Gordon, are you joining us? I said, of course, I consider myself half Romanian, so I'm coming with you. And we'll all go to the Norwegian embassy in Rome to demonstrate. So I was there with them. And of course, there's always someone who recognizes me. I can't help that. I've been a lot on Romanian evangelical television, so that might be that someone recognizes me. And that person took that occasion to ask me for a prophetic word. So we're in a political demonstration, and someone comes to me and says, Pastor Gordon, do you have a prophetic word for me? So I start prophesying over the person, and of course, people see that, and they see, hey, there's someone praying for people, and they are listening carefully, and they hear, I'm actually prophesying. So then some people that have never seen me, I don't know them, come, can you prophesy to me as well? So you end up prophesying over quite a few. And suddenly there's this young lady, I just prophesied over her brother. She comes to me and says, can you pray for me too? Of course, he meant, can you prophesy over me? So the moment I take her hand to prophesy over her, I just know she has a back issue. I just know. I couldn't see that, but I just know. And so I asked her, do you have a back issue? And she said, yes. And so I said, okay, put your hands on your belly. And then I put one hand on top of her hands and the other one on her back, the place that she indicates. And it just took a minute and all pain had gone. So in that case, I just knew. I didn't see, but I knew. In another situation, it also happened in Italy. My organizer was visiting a church of Brazilian people. It was a small community that evening, there may be 12 or 13 people. And while there was worship, I got a terrible pain in my lower leg, as if someone was using a saw, trying to saw through my leg. And it was really painful. And I had no problems in my lower legs. And so when it was my turn to speak, I asked, is there someone here who has a pain? And I pointed to exactly the place where it was. And I said, it feels like if someone has been using a saw into this. Someone raised their hand, and I said, okay, come, sit here. So I started ministering to that indicated place. And after that first wave of power came, I asked him to test it. And instead of testing it, he turned around, fell on his knees, started praising God. And all the other 12 also started crying and praising God. I don't know, did this man have a traffic accident? Did he break his leg? I don't know what was there. But anyway, the others knew about it, not me. And he got healed. So I had a physical sensation, a pain in my lower leg. And it was exactly where that brother had his pain. So that is a physical sensation. Yes, it can be that when we are praying for words of knowledge, we might see something. I remember in one meeting, I saw like a fire on the ribs of someone. So I asked, is there anyone who has a fiery pain on the ribs? And someone raised their hand and got healed. So a mind picture, a thought impulse, suddenly we know, or even a physical feeling might be indications that God wants to do something. I'm teaching about those things, and then rather funny things can happen. So one of my students, he's a businessman, so he is at his workplace, and his wife calls him and said, I forgot to buy milk. Can you buy some on your way home? So when he left his office, he went to the first little supermarket that he saw. He had never been there before. And so he found the milk and went to the cashier woman. And there were some clients for him. So while waiting, lining up for the cashier woman, he started feeling a weird pain in his belly. And the closer he got to the cashier woman, it felt like it was going to explode. So like this swollen feeling up. Oh. And so at that moment, he was alone with the cashier woman when he was going to pay for his milk. And he says, do you have a pain in your belly? And she looked at him with a lot of question marks. And he said, yes, that feeling that you're going to explode. And she said, who told you? Who told you? And she said, the Lord told me. Can I pray for her? And she said, yes, that's okay, but behind the big standing fridge, because I don't want my boss to see it. And so he ministered to her. She got healed of her belly pain and asked, what church are you going to? What church are you going to? So immediately this touch of God, really touched her deeply, that she wanted to know, which church are you going? Because this presence of God, this power of God, I've never felt it before, and I'm curious and interested about it. One of my other students, a lady, who heard this, she went next day to the hairdresser, And while she was sitting in that comfortable chair to be attended to, she felt a back pain. Well, she doesn't have a back problem herself, so she found it a bit weird, and then she remembered what I told her the day before, that sometimes God gives you a sensation of physical pain because he wants you to heal someone who has that pain. But she was quite nervous about it and quite shy, so she didn't want to ask her hairdresser, do you have a back pain? Well, when her hairdresser was busy with her, the hairdresser started complaining. I said, I have such a back pain. So she had a confirmation that the pain she was feeling was actually a sign that the hairdresser was having this pain. And still she felt uncomfortable to tell her, I could pray for you. Can I pray for you? She didn't offer prayers because she was too nervous and too fearful. On the other hand, she openly told the next day during our seminar that she failed in obeying that revelation of God and that she wanted to repent from it. So sometimes we miss it, as she missed it, but God gives her another opportunity. Anyway, so she learned a lesson from it, even if she did not practice the healing that she could have done. So those words of knowledge can happen spontaneously in daily life, at your workplace, as when you're a client at a shop, with your employees, with your employer. Those things can easily happen. So when God shows you something like that, you should act, because it means that healing is guaranteed. Healing will always come. Of course, words of knowledge are very productive in meetings. And you see that most famous healing ministers, when they start a meeting, they first go for words of knowledge. So Randy Clark and other famous ministers, also in my country, Jan Zijlstra, he would start after he gave an evangelistic message and he gave people the opportunity to do the sinner's prayer. So then comes the healing part. And first he would say, well, someone in the back of the church here is someone with a heart issue. And who's that? Someone like Jean-Luc Pachel even is more precise, and he says, on the 14th row from the front is someone that has a cancerous tumor. Who is that? And when nobody comes, he simply walks in the hall and counts the row number. Still he is at row number 14. He says, in this row must be the person that has this cancerous issue. And then that person says, well, that's actually me. And then healing takes place. So the more precise you are in your words of knowledge, the chance that people get healed gets bigger. And of course, we can improve. We can improve, by just saying there is someone with a problem at the hand. It would be more effective if you could say, on the third row, over there somewhere is someone with a problem at the hand. Because that surely builds faith with the people that is looking for healing, the person that is sick. When he is so pinpointed and so much identified, he knows this is God. Because no pastor can know that. And he knows that's God, and that it's an open invitation from God to receive healing. So it raises faith, and then healing comes really quickly. Those words of knowledge can be exercised in church. I would encourage you, like you can do it after a normal church meeting. You can say at the end of the church meeting, you can ask for words of knowledge. You can make an agreement with your pastor, with your leader, like, can we do words of knowledge at the end of our meeting, and see what happens. And then there's something special about this. Remember that Jesus says, I can't do anything unless the see the Father do it. Because what the Father does, the Son does likewise. So I explained that revelation should precede action. Now, when you're in a meeting and you start with words of knowledge, actually you're getting the revelation from God. And then you just have to apply that power. And it's guaranteed it brings a miracle. There's some faith with people, they will get healed. So getting revelation about healing is not just passive, like waiting if God shows something. But just as with the gift of prophecy, you can provoke that revelation by asking for it, to say, okay, Lord, tell me, is there something you want to say? Is there something that you want to do? And you just take the impressions that come, the impulses that come, you just do it. And you shouldn't doubt. Because that's the problem. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there isn't someone here with that problem. So I can talk about that in the next session.